But all right, what is up, fellow nerds? We are talking The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 12, The Outpost. I don't know what it is about Crosshair-centric episodes and being so incredibly well done.
Aren't they good? First off, okay, I have to admit this. I know not your status quo. We're 100% correct every time. I would not have guessed that this was a Crosshair-centric episode. When we saw the episode title, my initial thought was, oh, this is probably the Bad Batch. They're creating their own separate outpost. You know, they're going to carry on the Sid story. Did not for a second think that we were going to get a deep, dark, introspective where, Crosshair is now questioning everything that he's done and all of his decisions. And, God, the ending of that episode, I'm not going to get into that right now, but, I mean, the theories of that you can come up with that alone are just like, wow. Real quick, for anybody who hasn't seen the episode yet, obviously, full spoilers going forward. We are going to be spoiling the heck out of this episode. If you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. I'm telling you, this is an amazing episode. And yeah, Keith, you are absolutely right. Crosshair episodes, really good.
Well, if you haven't seen it, we'll wait. I'm just kidding. Actually, too bad if we wouldn't get a copyright strike against us. We could watch it all together. But,
right.
It's so funny because I got up very early and watched The Mandalorian on Wednesday. And then I ended up watching The Bad Batch at lunch. And I was like absolutely blown away.
Absolutely blown away?
Yes. And yes, fatherly fandom, all roads are leading to Mount Tantus. While I was watching it, and it's funny you say that, because as I was watching it, first off, I just love the character development we are getting for Crosshair. He's one, who totally shocked us all when he's like, I took out my chip long ago. I'm still siding with the Empire. Yeah. And now he's really starting to see how little they care about clones. I mean, if I'm going to nitpick anything about this episode, it's that Lieutenant Nolan was so one-dimensional. But it was perfect for what we needed in this episode. He was so terrible to all the clones that Crosshair was like...
Lieutenant Nolan was basically every Imperial in A New Hope.
Yeah.
All just like mustache twirling evil. He's the guy. That's why they promoted him all the way up to lieutenant. They're like, oh, you have absolutely no personality other than if you saw a damsel in distress, you would have been the one who put her in distress, and it would have been train tracks. That is you.
And I like that fatherly fandom calls him a green officer. I think all of us were non-officers. I did get promoted to non-commissioned officer while I was in, but I think we all remember that scene with Mayday where Lieutenant was like, well, how many missions have you been on or whatever? And he goes, how many missions have you led?
Silence.
Yep. And it was great because, while we were in, first lieutenants had bronze bars, and we called them butter bars.
Yep.
And same. A butter bar came, started shouting orders. It was like, okay, we'll get right on that. So, anyway.
Isn't the Navy a little bit different, like with their names for officers? Don't they have three anchors and a starfish and a mermaid tail popping out? That's like their first level or something.
I think so. I think it's all singing and dancing on the ships too.
And it's like the Air Force, similar. They've got like 13 wings, and that's like a private.
But it was funny while watching this episode too about the cargo that they've been sitting on. I did not guess at all that it was going to be stormtrooper armor.
Right?
I was like, okay, what is this going to be that is going to turn Crosshair? Because as soon as it was him and I saw how the lieutenant was treating him, I'm like, okay, we're getting Crosshair getting pushed further away from the Empire and maybe rejoining the Bad Batch at some point. I don't think that's going to happen now. But as I was watching, I thought it, and I'm like, man, what could be in that cargo?
Do you
I
think
thought
they
it was
would
going to
take
be.
him back?
Yes. I do. If he came and said, listen, I've seen the error of my ways, I'm a jerk and I know it, but I think we can work together and do good things.
I think actually what might end up happening, I hate to jump, right into a theory right away or a what's next, but I think what would end up actually happening is rather than him going back to the Bad Batch, because I think he's probably going to again continue to, and this is if he even escapes, right? I think he's going to have a bit of a crisis. He's going to be like, you know what, I really treated them wrong. I don't deserve to be in their company. I worked against them. I was basically a traitor to my brothers. If anything, I bet he would reach out to Rex. Because I'm guessing that Cody is probably working with Rex right now. And so he's got that connection.
So before we go any farther, Fatherly Phantom said the Marines are actually under the Department of the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. The men's department.
That was good. I haven't heard that one.
But he would have to swallow some serious pride. But I no longer think he's going to join up with the Bad Batch. And while we have our What's Next logo up, I think the reason he ended up where he is at, and I know, Doug, you have a theory. Mine's a little different. Mine's a lot different. I think they brought him there because he could get access to Omega. They know that he worked with Clone Force 99. I think they're going to use him to reach out to the Bad Batch to try to lure Omega to them, or at least find them.
I could definitely see that, yeah. So, yes, I could definitely see that they would want to use him in order to try and make it a little bit easier. I think they're probably going to do what the Empire does best. They're going to be tripping over their own feet, trying to figure out a way to get her. They'll hire bounty hunters to go after her. They'll send troops after her that will cross paths with the bounty hunters, and then they're also going to try to lure them. They're going to have like 3 ongoing plans, none of which will work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could totally see them doing that. Now, I had a... should I wait for this one? The one that I told you about before, or should I just...
You know what? We're already there. We're on our What's Next for the Bad Batch. Tell them, because I like this. I thought... Okay. I didn't think of it, and I thought it was really well thought out.
So, I've got a bit of an out there theory, and since Dave isn't here to reel me in, I can go ahead and just let loose. All right. Here's my theory. And again, I know this will sound crazy. I think that even if the Empire is going to try and use Crosshair to lure the Bad Batch and to lure Omega to him, I think they're also going to make use of having him there. He's considered a clone that they can mess with, right? And we already know, based on this episode alone, they have no respect for the clones. So, since he's a tool of the Empire, what better way to use him than to experiment on him? Why not start trying to figure out ahead of time what's going to happen if they inject blood with midichlorians? Why not start their experimentation early? And what if Crosshair is the original Snoke? I put their pictures side by side, and I'm telling you, they look kind of similar in the face and everything. And right where Snoke's scar is right about where Crosshair's little eye tattoo is. Coincidence?
I wish I wish I would have, because you sent that picture to me, and I wish I would have pulled it into OBS to show it, because you're right. They're eerily similar looking. And if that wasn't intended, then it's a huge coincidence. But yeah, it could very easily, they start cloning Crosshair over and over again and trying to put midichlorians into them. Yeah. Until finally they get this one that works.
This guy is going to be full of hatred, full of anger. He is the perfect experimental vessel. If they're going to see if it's possible to give force power scientifically rather than it being, yes, it's an energy field that surrounds us and everything. No, they're going to inject the force into his bloodstream. and he's going to be so filled with hate and anger that it's going to immediately push him to the dark side. And just before they're done, they're going to erase his memories so he won't even know who his brothers are.
And then they'll use the process, the successful process, to turn Snoke or Crosshair into Snoke, and that's what they want Grogu's blood for, to build that second Emperor, because somehow Palpatine returned.
Cloning. Only dark magic that the Sith knew. No, the Empire was pretty clear on it. Wasn't really just the Sith. Sit down, buddy.
Well, no, the Sith knew how to cheat death.
Sorry, I'm still salty at a movie that's like 4 years old now or whatever.
We all are. But, you know, it was funny because at first when Mayday walked out and you didn't see his face, I thought it was Echo. Because I'm like, it kind of had the orange and I was like, oh, then they show his face. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, hey, I'm Mayday. But then I started thinking, I was like, okay, they've got something good in these crates. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was Stormtrooper armor at the time. I thought for sure it was going to be a group of clones that was doing the raiding on this place and stealing all the stuff.
I thought it was a group of clones too. I really did. I thought it was going to be like the ones that he had their helmets arranged. I thought maybe they had faked their own deaths and they were something like that.
Until one of the clones died during one of their attacks, and I was like, okay, if they are clones, they don't know these clones. Because I was with you. All the helmets stacked up, I'm like, these are the people doing the raiding. But obviously, we were wrong on that, but it was still a great episode. You know, as, you know, Crosshair was telling him earlier in the episode, yeah, you're dead weight. If you die, I'm leaving you where at. He's like, God, I better not.
Or dead weight.
And I thought for sure, if anyone is going to say that and mean it, it's Crosshair. So I thought it was a very nice gesture. After kind of getting to know him and working with him, he wasn't going to leave him, you know, sitting in that avalanche. He did the best he could to get him back. And I think the fact that he worked that hard to get him back to base, and Lieutenant Nolan was just like, we're not wasting anything on him. He's just a clone. That just was the last straw. And he was like, you know what? I still don't know why those stormtroopers didn't blast him. Because he killed the lieutenant right in front of him. And then they walked over. They did the right thing. They kicked his gun away. And I'm like, oh, these stormtroopers are just going to kill him. Because they probably have the same mentality as that lieutenant. It's just a clone. No trial, no anything.
Because
somebody must have been like...
The stormtroopers actually never shoot to kill. I think I brought this up in some of our, like, other, you know, when we were talking about, like, different Star Wars things. If you notice, actually, it was when we were... when we were reviewing The Rise of Skywalker. And I said, you know, I think it's kind of funny that we see this all the time in Star Wars movies where the stormtroopers are real quick to capture the rebels or to capture the resistance. They're going to arrest them and they're going to take them to a holding cell. They captured Princess Leia. They used, stun on her. And they captured Chewbacca. They're always willing to capture and, you know, play nice in war games, whereas the rebels and the resistance, they're running in guns a-blazing, killing and blasting, and like the stormtroopers are still like, okay, you literally just killed like 6 of my friends, but, you know, drop your weapons, we're going to arrest you, because that's the right thing to do.
Fatherly Fandom said, good guy Palpatine has a no-kill order.
Right.
Unless they're a Force adept. Then it's like, murder him, give in to your dark side. Yeah, I think overall, I thought this was the episode I didn't need to see. Because, you know, it's all leading to Mount Tantus. This gets Crosshair there. This gets away for... Oh, yes. But it's just another way to bring all of them there. It was a nice story. It gets Crosshair at Mount Tantus to lead the rest over there. And man, I am just looking forward. You know, we only have, 4 episodes left? 3 weeks, 4 episodes. And
Really?
I got a good feeling this is going to end on a very high note.
So going back real quick to the crates, when it was revealed that A, it was just stormtrooper armor, and B, they were bringing a bunch more anyway, along with a bunch of troops, literally the next day. I was like, oh yeah, that's something the military would do. They would definitely have us risk our lives for some BS gear. Or at least that's something my unit would have done.
But think about it too. They were guarding it for 2 years. So this was even before they got rid of the clones. So that was proof to Crosshair they were already planning on getting rid of us 2 years ago, and they had all this armor built. So once he put that together, I'm sure it helped him decide that.
So it's funny that you bring that up, because we recently saw in the 2-part episode where they were, going in front of the Senate, and they were talking about the idea of eventually replacing the clone troops with troops that they brought in, from the local systems and everything. They were going to start recruiting individuals instead of using clones. And they made it sound like, in front of the Senate and in front of the people, that this is something they were eventually going to do. But going all the way back to, the 2nd episode, we saw that they had already started. This is the Empire had been a thing for, a week, maybe? And they're already we're going to move on to stormtroopers. Before they had even brought it up to the Senate or to anybody else. That's the Emperor. He's going to look, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to happen whether you like it or not.
Yep. Yeah, we know. Oh, and Fatherly Fandom, I like this. Can you imagine a huge battle on Tantus and some Zillo beasts just running around? Let's get bonkers. Let's go bonkers. Oh my God. That would be fantastic. Now that would be a wonderful 2-part finale.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we even get their first attempt at cloning a Force-sensitive person, the mad Jedi clone Joris Sabath. Now that would be. I'm not predicting that. Just throwing it out there. I don't want it to hurt our 100% accurate accuracy thing. But yeah, I think it's going to get a little nuts in the last few episodes here. It's going to, we've talked about it before. Dave Filoni likes to really ramp it up in season 2. And while a lot of this season has been a slow burn, and, Uncharted, Indiana Jones episodes, and pod racing and all that, I think it's about to just go from 0 to about 120 in 1 second. It's going to be great. I'm here for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could definitely say that.
Sabath and Bad Batch. Hell yeah.
Sierra, what is that blue milk? Oh, it is deliciousness. So I use this stuff called blue spirulina, and it is I believe it's made from an algae or something like that, and it's full of a bunch of vitamins and everything. It's really good for your heart, really good for cholesterol, and it has this really deep blue hue that'll it comes in this powder, and then you just put it in, mix it up, and it turns anything this awesome blue color. And then what I do is I usually mix it in with some almond milk and some heavy cream to give it kind of a bit of a froth. Then I mix it all together. And today I decided to throw in some strawberry milk in there too, for some flavor. Because the blue spirulina really doesn't have any flavor to it.
I bet the strawberry milk helped it. Oh, and Fatherly Fandom ordered some.
Nice. Only real men drink blue milk. Darn right. When you're working on the moisture farms and all you can think about is going to Tashi Station for those power converters, drink some blue milk. That'll get you there. Yeah!
Yippee-ki-yay! I'm just glad to see that, all the blue milk has made Doug only stronger in the Force. That's something they don't tell you, while you're on Tatooine.
Right.
Oh, and Sierra's going to get you the same stuffs. Going to get the same stuffs.
Nice.
That means we're all going to have to be drinking blue milk at one time. We're definitely going to have a nothing but blue milk stream one night.
We really do. Maybe one of these days, if we actually have bit of like a slow day or whatever, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll position the camera. I'll do um, make some blue milk. Go through the ingredients and all that.
Excellent. Man, anything else to talk about on the Bad Batch today? We
Let's
talked
see.
about.
We're pretty much covered, theories where everything is going to go. We talked about, the one thing that we did kind of miss because we do this all the time. We like jump right into the meat of the episode. In the very beginning, we finally got a little bit of a resolution with, the act that I had spoken about of them, forcing retirement on the clones. And I mean, I hate it, but I love how like robotic the Imperial officer was. Thank you for your service. If you head right over here, enjoy your retirement. You mean a forced retirement? What are we supposed to do now? Well, according to Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're supposed to sit on the street and collect collect credits in your helmet.
And yes, Fatherly Fandom makes a good point. Kevin Kinner is killing it with the sound.
Yes. Oh my God, there was a really good music. Like I was thinking that back during the mining episode. I was like, I really like this music. This is a good soundtrack. And then yeah, it really ramped up in this episode too. Very good.
Doug, but I don't think that the clones just have to go to the streets and beg. I'm sure they're going to, be working some shops and stuff.
Hmm.
And they're like, listen, Fives. I know good soldiers follow orders, but I really just need you to put some bagels out. Seriously. Yes, I'd like to buy a bagel with cream cheese. You can buy a bagel, but you got to pay for it with money.
You'll give me a bagel with cream cheese. Oh, you old Jedi, your mind and tricks don't work on me. Clone, serve him bagel. Make sure you take credits.
Good stuff. Good.
Yeah, I can remember unnecessary dumb things like that. But if you ask me what I did yesterday, I'm like, boy, that was a long time ago, man.
All I remember about yesterday is I had meetings from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 4:30. The worst. 9 to 5.
And your orders. He thinks, oh God. Oh no, it would be a bloodbath. It would be just like that one Vader comic when the Inquisitor sicked a clone trooper on his other Inquisitor friends.
Order 66.
Oh. Get
Let
the
the Boston
Jedi
rifle
scum!
down.
Oh Lord. You gotta wonder for like the clones that never did get their chips removed, like how often was it like accidentally triggered?
How often would they say Order 66? Well, once
Hey,
it's triggered,
sometimes
they
it's a
maybe.
thought, right?
Well, the best time on the clock is 6:30, hands down.
Good this week. I thought it was better than The Mandalorian this week.
Quick, Keith, throw up the logo.
Bam!
Am I not the first person to say that? Because
We
No.
haven't even we didn't really say one way or the other.
I didn't think that The Mandalorian was bad at all. I'm just saying the Bad Batch was that good. And Crosshair taking that guy out at the end, I think he's going to end up back with his brothers. Not like we thought before, but we're always right, you know.
That's true. Well, it was funny because the first thing I said was I had no idea that every episode with Crosshair was going to be so incredible.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was amazing. And how I don't like to use superlatives that much unless it actually amazes me. And I thought that story was great. I thought the other clone, what was his name?
Mayday.
Mayday. I thought Having him on the show was like refreshing for Crosshair to regain his bearings, and and that shows how the Empire is going to treat the clones like they're just used up POS now. And he doesn't. The guy dies in front of him, and he just tells him to get back to work. He said, "No, boom." Loved it.
Yeah, the whole "you could have saved him." That was just the snap that.
I really think the real moment for Crosshair was when he heard his own words that he's repeated so many times turned around against him. And yes, I know that was the line that every clone said when Order 66 kicked in, but how many times did we hear Crosshair say to his own brothers, "Good soldiers follow orders"? And when Mayday looked at him and said kind of like despairingly, "We were good soldiers. We followed our orders." I think that triggered something in him, and he was just like, "Oh my God. All this time."
Exactly.
But Dave, just so you know, Doug and I have a little different theories on what's going to happen. Or should I say, what's next? Oh, I went into tangent time. That's not what I wanted to do.
I'm afraid to tell Dave my theory because I know he'll reel it in, so you go first.
Tell you what, give me 30 seconds. My cat just peed on my floor. Give me 1 second here.
Oh, fun. All right.
Wonderful cat, right?
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
I'll even give you a topic.
So, Doug, how's the blue milk?
It's blue.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, how's things?
Yeah, it's good. School was canceled already for tomorrow for the kids, so.
Oh, wow.
We had a little dance party earlier. It was fun.
One thing that I've noticed about my generation and some of the older generations is they're real quick to point out, like, when I was younger, we had to get up early anyway, and we had to sit there and we had to watch the little thing scrolling, and that's how we had to find out whether school was canceled or not. These kids have it easy, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, yeah, I mean, I wish I had that too, but, like, I'm not going to wish that on the current generation. Like, we should be getting better. Like, good for them. I'm glad that it's nicer that they can just go online, or they can, they've got an app for that or something. Like, cool. Makes it easier not only on the parents, but now the kids get some rest too.
Yeah, they don't have to get up early. They can
Benefits
sleep
everybody.
in. They can stay up later tonight. They can have some fun, enjoy it. I mean, that's what you should do as a kid. Well, I was laughing because today Sully was upstairs. We got all of his homework done, and then he was upstairs taking a bath. And me and Tessie were working on her homework. She had some questions, and all of a sudden, an email popped up on my phone. It was from Livonia Public Schools, and she's like, "Did they just cancel school?" I'm like, "Hold on. They certainly did." And she's dancing around the house.
You should have messed with her and be like, "No, actually, they said you got to come in an hour earlier."
But you're right, fatherly fandom. There are two types of people. I suffered, so you should, which is so wrong in my opinion. And then, I suffered, so you don't have to. That's, I want everything better for everybody. Anyone who gets their student loans paid off, good. You know what? You shouldn't go in debt to get an education. You shouldn't go in debt because you're hurt or sick. That's just...
Totally agree.
Nothing in this country is too rich to ever have that happen. So I'm happy for everybody that good things happen to. If it didn't happen to me, that's okay. I'll get by.
I mean, if we could go on a political rant, we would go on for hours.
That's true.
But now that theories, I'm back now.
Okay, my first one was the reason they took him to Mount Tantus is because they know that they need Omega to get that, Kamoan doctor to start doing her stuff. And they know the connection between Crosshair and the Bad Batch and Omega. So they brought him there to get in touch with the Bad Batch and lure them to Mount Tantus. They're basically going to use him to try to bring them there. Now, I think probably at the end of it, he's going to end up helping them either escape or get rid. He may sacrifice himself to save Omega. But that is a very mild theory to what you're about to hear out of Doug's mouth. And I love Doug's theory. I wish it was mine.
All right,
So,
Doug,
so hold on, get your reel out.
Right.
I'm gonna get my pole out, right? Isn't that what we were saying last time?
Hey, this is a family picture.
Right.
Oh, and hold on, Don't Eat Me Cows is here. Welcome, Don't Eat Me Cows. Always a pleasure.
What up?
All right. You didn't by chance get upload those pictures, did you?
No, I didn't. I should have while we had that break.
It's all right. Okay. Here's my theory, Dave.
Okay.
All right. And now, I know it sounds crazy, but hear me out. We saw at the very end of the Bad Batch, they were giving him a shot, and you could tell they were interested in not just jailing him. And while I do agree, I think Keith is probably right. They're most likely going to take advantage of having him there in order to lure Clone Force 99 in order to get Omega, so that way they can, connect the dots with their convoluted plan, get Omega, force her to make the Doctor work, and then get their cloning thing underway. But why wouldn't they also take advantage of the fact that they have what the Empire deems a tool? Why not experiment on something that they're just ready to throw away anyway? They don't care about the clones. They don't consider them real people. So you saw her putting that shot in him. What if they took that a step further and they started injecting him with midichlorian heavy blood? What if they thought they could use him as like their precursor, their test subject, just to see what happens? We've already got a clone here. Now what happens if we go ahead and try to scientifically force the Force into him?
So he's Snoke.
Yes. You
Boom.
see it.
Snoke.
And guess what?
it, don't
It's
you?
now on the screen.
Don't they kind of look alike?
They kind of do.
Right?
Eerily similar.
Eerily similar. So I'm looking at Snoke, and I'm looking how he's got this kind of scar, and I'm seeing the face and kind of the structure, and I'm thinking, it's only a matter of time before they start really poking and prodding at him, and they start saying, now use your hate, use your anger, and he does. And then they wipe his memory, and all he is just a sack of flesh filled with the Force and with anger, and he becomes Snoke.
Wow. I don't hate it. I'm not going to reel it in. I don't hate it. It's feasible.
I like how you saw it. You saw where I was going.
Yeah. I can see Filoni making it work.
And like I think it probably won't be actual Crosshair. It'll be clone upon clone upon clone of
Oh yeah,
Crosshair,
because we saw there were
where they keep
several
experimenting.
But I
Yeah.
think he would be the first Snoke.
He will be the basis of Snoke.
Yep.
His genetic material.
Mm-hmm.
That would make the sequel trilogy a little more interesting.
It would. And, we've heard Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they've mentioned how they like to be able to use these different Star Wars series and fill in a lot of the gaps. And what better way to do that than to explain how Palpatine somehow returned? Only better.
I mean, they really did fix the prequel trilogy with the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can do it here. That'd be amazing. I'm not going to reel that in. I'm going to leave it there.
Wow.
Excellent.
I'm not pulling
It's a
them
good
up.
theory. You know it's a good theory when Dave won't reel it in.
I think this is the first one. He usually always reels mine in.
And there was no one to pump the brakes because you pumped the brakes. Oh, Fatherly Fandom shirt. Nice.
Yep. Thanks, Attack on Show. I wore my Attack on Show on Thursday, wearing my... Wait, no, I wore it on Monday. Now wearing my Fatherly Fandom on Thursday. I have no idea what day it is.
Days are meaningless. Time is a
They really
construct.
If it wasn't for the Swiss, I'd probably still be sleeping right now. A bunch of landlocked neutral ninnies. I'm telling you.
What is it? Next weekend or the weekend after that we've got the whole spring forward nonsense?
That's this weekend.
I don't want it. I don't like it.
You know, the suicide rate goes up by 14% on that day. People have more heart attacks on the days you jump ahead. That's why they were trying to eliminate it in Congress. That's why they were trying to eliminate, daylight savings. But I guess it never got through the House, so it's not going to happen.
You know, Attack on Show makes a good point. They could fix them by just erasing them. Which, the sequel trilogy, not Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, but legend.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll do that, only because Disney won't. They'll do their best to add a little flavor through the Bad Batch and Mando to try to make it a little more tolerable, but I don't think they'll ever erase it. I do think they're going to, at some point, kind of put it behind them and be like, yeah, that's canon.
I've got my own, and I've told you two about this before, but I've got my own personal fan theory about the way that they could treat the sequel movies. So we end with Rey burying the lightsabers and seeing the ghosts of Luke and Leia, and I don't know, Yoda, or for some reason maybe, who knows, whatever. And then all of a sudden, we cut to a space base, and we see Broom Kid and a bunch of other little Broom Kids. Like, that's it? That's how the story ends? He's like, yeah, I totally heard it from a friend. That's how it went. Nuh-uh. There's no way. That didn't happen. That's not true. And we come to find out that the entire sequel trilogy is actually, I heard from a friend who heard from a friend who heard from a friend that you've been messing around with Star Wars.
I was just going to say, heard it from a friend who... But, you know, they do make a good point. Ahsoka, which is supposed to deal with alternate realities, the place between worlds, they could alter the timeline and essentially erase the sequel trilogy and redo it. World between worlds, right. Not, what did I call it, the place between worlds? Ay, ay, ay. But they could technically erase the sequel trilogy and say that's a different timeline, a different branch of the time with what happens in Ahsoka. It could be a new one, and then we could see a totally new story unfold during that time frame. And honestly, if they did that, I would not complain one bit.
But then they'd be negating films that I think they make $1 billion each. The
first two did. I don't think Rise of Skywalker did.
And for a Star Wars movie not to make $1 billion in this day and age, you know it's not that good. You know? But still, do you think they would erase $1 billion movie?
They'll just say it's a different timeline.
But I think they would work around it.
Yeah, they would just put it in a different timeline and say that's something that could have happened had Ahsoka not went back to Mustafar and battled Anakin instead of Obi-Wan.
Didn't we hear that Christopher Lloyd is supposed to be in one of these series?
The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian. Uh-huh.
Okay, is he...
Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown. Yeah. Okay, you want to talk about
time traveler?
The timeline?
Well, is he... Since they haven't showed him yet, is he the pirate king?
No, that was somebody else.
No, we saw the Pirate King. He looked like a seaweed guy.
Right. Is that Christopher Lloyd all done up?
No.
They didn't put him as... He wasn't in the credits as him. So I don't think it is him. Yeah, that's true. The money is already made. So they can do Timeline B.
That's true. I don't think they're going to get much more... What? I don't think they're going to get much more going forward for those movies. I mean, knowing how bad they are as a collective output.
And Don't Eat Me Cows is asking, what is the Bad Batch about? It's about Clone Force 99 and then dealing with the end of the Republic and the start of the Empire. And about Order 66 and about what's going on with the clones post-Empire. It's a really entertaining show. If you haven't seen it and you like Star Wars, you should definitely check it out. Don't Eat Me Cows.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot better than when we first heard about it. I was like, what are they going to do with this? This season has made it it's so much better than it was the first season. I mean, not that the first season was bad, but this is a lot deeper than it looks. You wouldn't think maybe like these clones that have a lot to say or do, but they're putting a lot into this show. I'm really impressed with it.
Okay, Attack on Show. I know you're new. We do not mention Star Wars Resistance. That is the only Star Wars show I couldn't watch. I couldn't. I was like, this is terrible. Star Wars Resistance is one of the worst things ever put to animation. They should be ashamed of themselves for that.
It was a bad show. Like, if that's the thing. Like, when I put it next to the bad episodes of Rebels, basically every episode that has Ezra in it, it makes those episodes look good in comparison.
I would rather watch the droid episodes of the Clone Wars than watch any of Resistance.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? I would have to agree with you.
I don't think I've seen Resistance. Is that the one that has the bad animation?
Yes.
It did, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I didn't watch it probably. And
you were wise.
If I heard anything negative about it from you guys, I'm sure I didn't watch it. Because if Keith says something negative about it, well, it can't be that good.
Yeah, what's the silver lining, Keith?
Yeah.
The silver lining is I wasn't forced to watch it. It ended. I don't know. That's a tough one. And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.